Welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina. I'm Joe Hayes. I am your acting president. I would especially like to welcome our guests, visiting Rotarians, and senior actives. Today we are fortunate enough to have Jimmy Longoria talking about Chicano art. Why is Chicano art, and why has it gotten so expensive? Well, after going through the slides, it's great art, that's why. Our meeting team, we have Michael Stanzik filling in, front desk and guest intros. Meeting hosts, that's all of you. Greeter and invocation, Royce Pavelka. Greeter and thank you to the speaker, Ross Peterson. I think, Ross, your birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday. Speaker introduction, Dan Hunt. Photographer, Mark Jessen. AV team, Laskowski, Blake, and Wilson. Birthdays, we have Jerry Norton, Dennis Hikes, Ross, Adam Stanzik, Bob Harvey, Dan Mott, Joe Ahrens, that's coming up, Joe. There you go. Dan Hunt, Eric Reese, David Coons, Joel Jennings, Randy Smalza. We have Rotary anniversaries, Charlie Bear, 41 years, wow. Tom Reese, 36. Chris Amanolis, which we will be celebrating her next week. Eric Reese, 22. Bob Gubrud, 16. Scott Tankinoff. Shelley Loberg, 8. Kelly Burnett, 6. Heather Edelson, 6. Mike Martin, 4. Ryan Wilson, Rob Redding, and Erica Allenberg. Member Spotlight, we had the Tri-District Conference this last weekend, and Shelley, myself, Chris, and Katie and Rolf were all up there, and we had a nice dinner up at Bar Harbor, owned by a fellow Rotarian, John Allen. Just had a great evening. Also, Evo and Sam were up there, and Steve Slice was kind enough to line up a tour of John Allen's car and wooden boat showrooms. So they got to hang out with some pretty cool cars, and they had a wonderful time. Thank you, Mike Callis, for bringing them up there. Kind of see some of the really cool stuff. And then we just got a nice little picture. I think Evo's grown a foot since he's been here. If you go to, Becky goes, well, look at his pants. That's incredible. So that's a great shot. Thank you again, Mike, for bringing him up. He did an up and back. And then we're promoting Camp E in the Friendship Room. This is Julie Westbrock's son, Sean Healy. He performed at the School of Rock at the Minnesota Cafe last Sunday. She sent a video, and that was hard to play, but I got him where he was standing up there, and he can really shred, so he'll do great. Please rise for greeter and invocation, Royce Pavelka.
It's always so serious when you get up here at this moment. All these beautiful faces looking at me. Beautiful day. Happy to be here. So I was thinking about what I want to talk about today. And when I was doing my morning devotional, I just had this one verse stick with me, which isn't always, it's not the most pleasant reminder for myself, but it's what I felt like I wanted to briefly share, especially with what Rotary has and what it does to open our hearts and minds. The verse is Isaiah 48:4. I did this because I know how stubborn you are. Your neck muscles are like iron and your forehead like bronze. And I kept hoping God would put something else on my heart today, but I'm like, nope, that's it, Royce. You can be a stubborn guy, but that's what I love about Rotary. It's a place where we can come together, open our hearts, open our minds, and hopefully learn from each other and grow our friendship. So with that, let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for all the relationships that you have blessed us with and the chance to come together and learn from each other and have soft hearts and open minds. Hopefully see from someone else's point of view, consider viewpoints that we haven't before, and just get to know other worldviews and how we can come together as one community to advance our community, to help those in need, to fight for justice, and to love our neighbors. Thank you for this food. Bless it to our body and bless the hands that prepared it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here. Hey Michael. Hey, seems like it's been a long time since I've been here, but anyway, and Joe said be brief, so here we go with our three guests. Gitu Sharma has a guest, Cam Agarwal.
Hi everyone, this is my friend Cam, actually it's Kamal, but Cam. And she lives in Edina and she has a digital marketing firm that she runs by herself. Yeah.
Welcome. And David Kleins has a guest, Irina Linder.
Hi, everybody. This is my friend Irina Linder. She lives here in Edina, and she's affiliated with the Russian Art Museum over there just off of 35W. And seeing as how we had this famous artist come today, I wanted to make sure that she didn't miss and learned a lot about his work and his murals. So this is Irina Linder.
Welcome.
Her son is working at, her son is an accomplished attorney and is working at the international headquarters of Woojin Bin and Associates.
Very cool.
And Dick and Evie Teagan have a guest, Dr. Charles Yancey, who we're going to be hearing from in a little bit. Is there anybody else out there, any visiting Rotarians? Did I miss anybody? Thank you all for being here.
Well, good morning. I'm Dick Teagan. And in case you're wondering, this lady over here, Evie Teagan, is my CEO. And the reason she's here is to make sure I don't goof up this morning. But it's our pleasure to present the recent global grant of Tanzania that we have passed by the district, and the equipment is on its way to Tanzania. But first of all, I want you to know that my co-chair of this grant is Dan Mott, and Dan was very, very instrumental in helping us get through this whole thing. But he can't be here because he's having another setback with his hip replacement. But I'd like to thank all the members of our Rotary for their commitment to make the grant a major success. The grant will have a major impact by providing significant improved eyesight each year to hundreds of Tanzania adults and children. And I'd like to thank Joe Hayes, Shelley Loberg, Bernice Herbert, Skip Thomas, Dennis Hikes, Charlie Bear, Tim Murphy, Becky, Katie Campbell, and our district mentor, Chris Dirks. And it's at this time, and we have over 40 people that have contributed glass cases to our Tanzanian people so that when they get their new glasses, they will have a case to put them in. So, excuse me just a minute. It's with pleasure that I introduce Dr. Charles Yancey, who is an MD and a PhD and Senior Associate of West Metro Anthropology. And they have 4 medical offices in the Western Twin Cities. But he is also, Dr. Yancey is also a board director with the Tanzania Health Partners, who are a 501c3 located in Golden Valley, Minnesota. The Tanzania Health Partner mission is to partner with the Damana Christian Medical Clinic in Tanzania with financial resources, guidance, and staff training. Dr. Yancey and Evie and I are Dr. Yancey's patients and our respect and friendship through our long membership with Christ Presbyterian Church in Edina. Dr. Yancey and his wife Kitty are people of faith and with a major focus on service above self. Welcome, Dr. Yancey.
Thank you so much, Dick. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Charles Yancey, and I'm an ophthalmologist and member of the Tanzania Health Partnership Board of Directors. I would like to thank you so much for your generous contribution to the eye clinic at Dodoma Christian Medical Center.
You have copies of this presentation on your table, so if you'd like to pick them up and follow along with Dr. Yancey, it would be helpful for you. You have them on all tables have them.
So this is an aerial view of the Dodoma Christian Medical Center, and actually it's only about half of it. It's a 121 bed hospital that was started from scratch in 2003 by a local person from around here, a retired Medtronic executive. But known by the locals as DCMC, it is known as the medical center that provides the highest quality medical care in the whole region. It delivers health care to all people without regard to their tribe, religion, or ability to pay. Your donation of a handheld autorefractor, seen here, it's also called a Retinomax, and an eye care tonometer will allow our eye clinic staff to make a huge difference in the lives of thousands of children and adults in the Dodoma region. The Retinomax is a handheld device that is able to determine a patient's refraction with high accuracy. The eye care tonometer is also handheld and used to determine eye pressure. Both of these can easily be taken into the field to screen large numbers of patients in one trip or outreach. So what's the scope of the problem? Globally, the second leading cause of visual impairment is uncorrected refractive error, or needing glasses. And the third is glaucoma. Visual impairment is defined as the limitation of the vision system due to a disease or disorder that reduces a person's ability to perform routine activities of daily living. Blindness is the worst level of visual impairment. These devices address both refractive error and glaucoma. So how do we identify these patients who have visual impairment? At DCMC, we have an outreach program that partners with a mission called Kids for School to go out to the public schools in the Dodoma region and find the poorest children and screen them out for decreased vision. When we find kids with decreased vision, 95% of them will need eyeglasses. And this is just kind of a picture of what we have to deal with in order to screen these kids. You can see this is a little guy here just getting ready to get his eyes screened. The kids that need eyeglasses will be separated out, given dilating drops, and then checked for eyeglasses using the Retinomax, which is the machine that you guys donated. This is when they line up. They all have their school uniforms on. These are all public school kids. And the public schools are extremely sparse, as you can see. There are two things that we need to look for when we are measuring these kids. One is pupillary distance, and the other is refraction, and that's done using the Retinomax. Next, we bring the data back to our optical lab and make them according to the correct prescription. Finally, we bring the glasses back to the kids and fit them. During our visit in January, we screened 1,500 children and found 90 kids that would need glasses. It is much easier to bring 90 glasses out to kids than to bring 90 kids in for exams. So how does this work in real life? Well, in order to create a set of eyeglasses, you need a pair of frames and two lenses. The lenses have two basic measurements, the PD and the prescription. So where do we get our lenses and frames? Well, we get our lenses are eyeglass frames from the Lions Clubs. The Lions Clubs send us frames that have very basic prescriptions. That is often not the same in each eye and may have astigmatism that is not what the patient needs. Also, the PD, or the pupillary distance, is set for the patient that those glasses were made for. This makes a pair of glasses from the Lions very difficult to wear if you are not a match perfectly. I don't know if any of you have been ever gotten a pair of glasses and it just didn't work. It's probably because the pupil distance was wrong. In some instances, you get really lucky, and the patient who receives the glasses matches well with the patient who was donated, but that's less than 1%. In most cases, however, there's a mismatch, and the patient who wears the glasses for a while, realizing they're too uncomfortable, and then eventually abandons them. In addition, when giving out Lions Club glasses, when giving out Lions Club glasses, the best prescription for a little girl might be a pair of frames that was made for an adult. Here's a little girl on this side is wearing an adult pair of frames, and this is where the frames, after we gave her an exact match for her eyes, and the frames, and not only the frames match her, but so does the prescription and the pupillary distance. So how do we make eyeglasses in Tanzania? With generous support from some other donors, we were able to purchase a machine that takes the lens blanks, shown here by Dr. Francisco, who's our ophthalmologist, and custom grind them to fit any pair of eyeglass frames. There are lenses that are actually sold in Tanzania, so we have a source to get the lenses down there. And this is what a lens blank looks like. They come in the packages, and they're written exactly for the exact prescription of the patient. The frame is then put into a machine, and the inside of the frame is traced automatically. Here's a little video of how the machine works. Before we went to Tanzania, we went and trained on a machine here in one of the optometry offices who had the exact same machine that we were getting. And you can see here, right in here, there's a little stylus that goes around and actually exactly measures the inside of any frame. So then we can cut the glasses to the exact. See how that stylus goes in there, and then the lens blank is measured, and the pupillary distance is set, and then the lens is grinded down so that it fits exactly into the glasses. So this is us putting the frame together with the lenses.
I hate to ask this, but can you
Get going?
click through? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I want you to do it.
All right.
We're very.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
So the eye care tonometer that you gave us also allows us to check intraocular pressures. So if we really want to make a difference in Africa, however, we need to train more ophthalmologists, optometrists, and support staff and keep them in Africa. We can certainly give them a start by giving them the tools they need to do good medicine and the financial support that they need to feed their families. I'm excited and humbled to be called to serve as a mentor ophthalmologist in this part of the world, using my skill set to bring eye health and hope to the people of Tanzania. Thank you again for your support of the DCMC Eye Clinic. Our prayer is that God will continue to bless our mission and to bring sight and hope to the children and adults of the Dodoma region.
That is so cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a picture here. Here we go. Yeah. Go ahead, Mark. Here we are. Thank you, Dick. Great job. Dick Teagan worked very, very hard on this, so let's give Dick another round of applause. Great job. I spoke to Dan. He is on the mend. He had to cancel a trip to France, so that was pretty disappointing, but Mary Kay. We're inducting a new member, Mary Kay Hoffman, a friend of mine from growing up. As president of the Rotary Club of Edina, and on behalf of the entire membership, we welcome you as a new member to our club. Please join us in our friendship as we share a passion we hold for projects and make our community and the world a better place to live. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people who desire to uphold high professional standards in their vocation. As self-employed, your classification will be educator coach or educator coach. Please get involved by joining one of our many committees. She has already participated in reading
The scholarship thing.
the scholarships, which was fantastic. By doing this, you get to know our membership, and you'll find true value in the true value of the Rotary motto, service above self. At this time, I ask your sponsor, me, to present you with the packet.
Thank you. So,
Welcome.
thank you.
Thank you. Jamal.
Hello. Can you hear me? Well, today is my classification talk, so it will not last more than 45 minutes. So. But I want to thank my sponsor, Salabister, here, who encouraged me and to get in the club, and Josh, who I think made the final sell.
He's a closer.
By telling me that if you join, this would be, I'm quoting this from him, the best thing that happened in your life. So, you're right so far. So my talk will be brief. I will divide into three things. I will talk about a little bit about my background, and then I will talk about what I enjoy doing and what I do for a living. And so I will start with my background and where I came from a little bit. I don't know if you can see that map of Africa. And is there a pointer here? I was born in Somalia. That's the eastern side of Africa. You know, I lived in Minnesota for the last 20 years. And the last 5 years I've been living in Duluth, but I came back to the cities. And wherever I go in Minnesota, people ask me, you know, where are you from? And when I tell them I'm from Somalia, their next question is, oh, there are so many Somali people. What brings you here to Minnesota? And so I try to explain people to my culture and heritage, and I tell them we're here because we love ice fishing. And I actually did that. I told that to a colleague of mine in Duluth, and he said, you know, come there. So I did that once, and he said, you want to do the next winter? And I said, no. One is enough. But one of the reasons that a lot of Somalis are here is because, you know, there was a war in Somalia, and so me and my family had to leave. And we lived in a refugee camp for 7 years before we came here. So I got back to Minnesota a little over 20 years ago. I was 18 or 19, so you can do the math, all of that. And I was a little bit too old for high school, so I got something called a GED and worked in a meat packing factory for a little while. And I realized that, you know, I better do something else. So I went back to school and stayed in there, and eventually got my PhD from the University of Minnesota. mother had people addressing me as a doctor, and she thought I was a real doctor. And she said, I didn't know you were a doctor. And I said, no, not the kind of a doctor that will help you when you need them. But I got a doctorate. And that's my girlfriend, Yasmin. I invited her. She's a dentist. And she said, well, I have something more exciting to do in my work than go to a meeting. And I said, what is it? And she said, I've got a root canal. And this is a little bit of what I enjoy doing as an entertainment. I like to spend a lot of time in outdoors. And I won a couple of marathons. So that was my first marathon, the Twin Cities Marathon. And I almost came first and last, but I finished it, 26 miles. And you know, in Minnesota, I like to be outdoors, but the winter lasts about 11 months, so I have to learn how to do skiing. I keep falling, but I put myself out there, and it's better than staying indoors. And I like to travel. I've been to 36 countries, and I hope someday to visit all over the world. This is a little bit of my career and what I do for a living. In the past, I've been an educator, and I worked as a professor for a while, and I'm a psychologist by training. And my last role in higher education was I was an academic dean in a community college called Lake Superior College in Duluth. And I left that a little 2 years ago. My father died, and my girlfriend lives in the city, so I decided to move back from Duluth. And then when I left that job, I wanted to do something outside higher education. So I started, I served as the executive director of an educational nonprofit organization called 826 MSP. It's a small organization. I got 4 staff, and most of them work with students directly. They run 4 of our different programs. And I do everything else. So I had to learn, when I started leading this organization, a lot of skill sets that they don't teach you in college. I have to learn how to do accounting and financing and fundraising and human resources and facilities. So I basically take over everything that the staff don't do. We serve about a little over 1,000 students per year. It's an organization that our mission is to empower K-12 students to think creatively, write effectively, succeed academically, alongside a community of caring volunteers. And so we have a lot of volunteers, about 70 volunteers that work with our students throughout the year, and a lot of them come back and work with students and building that relationship with them. One of the areas of our focus is writing, so we publish the work of our students and then give them a royalty when we sell their books. And you can go to our website and order some of our books from there. And probably I'm the person who will be processing that order. So this is what I do during the week, and in the evenings and the weekdays, I do have my own practice. It's called, for a long time I had a practice as a psychologist.
You'll have to kick on.
Okay. But over the years, I kind of realized that what I'm really passionate about is wellness. And there's a stigma attached to mental health, so I try to focus on the wellness. So this is a practice I do as a side gig. You know, one way to sum up this is I would put it as the betterment of well people. So you don't have to have anything wrong with you to see somebody and talk to them and think about how can I find a balance in my life, in my relationships, and I'll be a little bit more happier than I am. And so I think it's something I always encourage friends and family to do, and that's what I do on the side. I'm not done yet. So tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. But today is another international holiday for all things Star Wars, so I will leave you with this wish.
There you go. Thank you.
Here you go.
Stefan?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Stephen Smith, and this was my third year as a member of the local grants committee, and it's been one of my favorite things that I've done as part of the club because it's been a great way to learn about and meet a lot of great organizations that are right in our backyard. And today we have Mike Bergman from Hope Academy here with us. They were one of our grant recipients, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about Hope Academy and how they are going to use the funds from their grant this year. And yeah, he's got the clicker. And I know it's an organization that our club has supported for several years, and I know a lot of you personally support the club, so probably very familiar with them, but we're excited to continue supporting them. So here's Mike.
Great, thank you. Hi, thank you. So just real quick, on behalf of Hope Academy, first of all, just wow, thank you for your generous support of our school and our students. For those of you who may not be familiar with Hope Academy, we're in South Minneapolis, 24th in Chicago. So if you know PB Park and Abbott Northwestern Hospital, that's just where we are. We therefore serve an inner city population of students. Our funding comes almost exclusively from private donations. Our families are required, all families of students, to have some skin in the game. On average, they're paying about 10% of the tuition of the cost to have their student at the school, so 90% of it coming through private donation. My family, we've been involved since, 2017, supporting a student, and it's such a delight. And now I get to work there, so I'm just really, really thrilled about that. Quick update, this year we're serving about 600 students, kindergarten to 12th grade. That's quite a change from the year 2000 when we started with 35 students in kindergarten through 2nd grade in the basement of a building. As you can imagine, the vast majority of our students, were it not for Hope, would never have access to the quality education that they're getting at Hope Academy. As you might be able to imagine, these are some of the kids who are most hit by COVID disruptions, by the violence that plagued our city. So it's really exciting. Your gift to us, I glanced at this supersized check here, has helped us purchase some high-powered laptops for our music and film production classes, which are fairly new to us. So they're allowing our students to record, edit, produce their own music, their own short films. One of our 10th graders, I'm told, produced his own single. It's on Spotify, and apparently it's had 11,000 likes already. So if anybody wants, I can get you the link afterwards. I was going to play it, but probably no time for that. But those film and production classes, they're part of something we call our Hope Paths program. So we've added more classes in the arts and trades and technology, medical fields. It's because many of our students will go to college, but we know college isn't the right next step for everyone. So this ensures that our students have exposure to career fields where they may go into the trades or elsewhere. Lastly, just real quick, I want to tell you one other pretty cool update. So if you can picture where we're located, the building that connects to Hope Academy was called the Phillips Eye Institute. Well, now we have a chance to essentially double in size in the coming years because we've been able to purchase that building. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's the story, how it came about is amazing. It's a 150,000 square foot building, 5.6 acres. It also has what I didn't realize, a 550 stall parking ramps. You would think at the cost that parking ramps are made of solid gold. They are not, but the cost of a 550 stall parking ramp in and of itself is just an amazing figure. But we got the whole thing It's a big undertaking. It'll be $40 million by the time we're done. We've raised $27 million of it already. So we're very thankful. Thank you. And thank you for what you all have done, really, in your contribution to us in the grant. You're playing a really important part in influencing the lives of inner city children. So thank you. If anyone wants to learn more, I'll be here so I can answer any questions afterwards. If you want to come for a tour, we'd love to have you. But thank you.
Picture here?
Oh, sure, and a quick picture.
Step in the middle.
There you go. 3, 2.
Thank you. A little announcement, we are running late, so we are going to ask if you have to leave at 1:30, please be quiet, and we're going to go an extra 5 minutes. So whoever thank you to the speaker is, come up at 1:30. Thank you. And Dan Hunt. There you go.
Thank you. Our speaker today is Jimmy Longoria. He was brought to the speaker committee attention by Katie Campbell. Thank you, Katie. Because we've had such great speakers already, I'm going to make this very short and let Jimmy get up here. He's here today with his wife, Connie, a former Rotarian. More importantly, Jimmy and Connie have had 12 Rotarian exchange students over the years. So rather than doing his bio, I'll just tell a quick story. When I met the two of them half hour ago in the lobby, talked for a little bit, and I said, before we go in, I just want to say to you, we spoke 2 months ago on the phone, and from that point on, I couldn't wait to meet them. And I hope you feel the same when they're done. Please come up.
Well, thank you for inviting me to come and speak to you. Normally, I'm really loquacious and we'd be here for 3 hours. But we'll do the quick version of what I do. And let's see if I can get this going here. That's me. And that's it. Okay, Jimmy Longoria, Chicano artist in Minnesota. And the topic that I want to talk about is, why is Chicano art, what is it? And
You'll have to speak into
okay, why? Okay, what is Chicano art? And why is it getting so expensive? The key is that I'm a Chicano, and it's different than being a Latin American, a Guatemalan, or a Mexican American. It is, I was born here. And long ago and far away in Texas, this idea is Chicano art is American art. Now, it came out of the 50s and 60s, which dates me, but an important thing about that, I've lost 50% of the people that I used to call comrades. Chicano is about the America in the future. 40% of the under 14 are non-white. Of that, 60% are Latino. And the interesting phenomenon of that is goes back to a very simple practice in South Texas, which is you're part of a family and you're expected to have 3.2 kids. So that's the agenda. Whoops, whoa, right back. Okay, one way, wrong way? Oh, that's it, okay. So it's the art of the, it's America in the future. Those kids in the next 20 years will be occupying most small businesses in this country. It's small businesses, like many of you have here, which actually create the fabric of America. And most of them will be Latinos. Now, Latinos enjoy another interesting characteristic. We intermarry across faith, race, and whatever else category, because we don't care. If you're family, you're family. And in my work that I've done with my wife in the streets of Minneapolis have involved working whatever kid. It led the Minneapolis Park District to give me the Martin Luther King Living the Dream Award. I said, hey, wait a minute, guys, you got the wrong guy. They said, no, you don't care what those kids are. You yell at everybody equally, which is another Texas mentality. I was born to be a manager, and so, get the job done, mijo. I don't care where you came from. All right, and This sign inspired my grandfathers to raise me as a champion of our people. 1954 is when I am born. 1955, the sign comes out. Goes all over the South. No dogs, no Negroes, and no Mexicans. And back then, if you looked, spoke like a Mexican, you were a Mexican. It didn't matter if you were Puerto Rican, Cuban. You could have been the president of Venezuela. Nobody would care. You're still a Mexican son. My grandfathers, being entrepreneurial farmers, reacted to the sign because it bit into 15% of their gleaning market. Now, a farmer in South Texas makes money by selling the majority of the crop when it's ripe. But before it's ripe, it pre-ripes some part, about 10%, another 10%. That percentage was the profit that he was working for. The other part sustained the business. So my grandfather said, this sign is going to really hurt us. But they decided they were going to take the long game, which is they looked around at their firstborn of their firstborns. That's me. My mom and dad were the firstborns in each of their families, and in South Texas, everybody's related. Everybody's a primo. Yes, Eva Longoria, she's a cousin. Okay? But the interesting thing about that is that they made a decision that I would be the sacrificial child, that they wanted me to grow up, go to school, do well, get a college education, and then run for governor of Texas and fix this sign. I mean, they were serious. And they nurtured me. I did not read little children's books. I read encyclopedias. My grandfather said, you got to know everything in the world, mijo. If you're going to stand toe-to-toe with anyone who says, where are you from? You're going to be able to say, ¿sabes qué? Yo soy de aquí, which means I am from here. And I grew up with the Texas mentality that Minnesota is the North 40. Okay, because as a 6-year-old, I used to sell watermelons to visiting winter Texans, i.e. Minnesotans. And they'd always try to take advantage of me and say, you know, how do I know this watermelon is good? And I said, if you don't buy it, I'm going to feed it to the pigs, which usually got Mrs. Johnson out of the car and said, shut up, Howard. What else do you sell, kid? So I learned very quickly how to be a businessman at 6. And my grandfather was ruthless. He would say, mijo, you know, I grew the watermelons. What am I going to pay you? I said, well, I sell 10% more than what you grow. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I counted. You throw away 10% to the pigs, and I'm selling them. They're not going to the pigs. So I learned how to barter. Okay. This is my grandfather, not originally, this is not that old a picture, but this is when he went back to Texas. He had to move to Southern California, went on to become the head gardener at the Claremont Colleges, where I would eventually go to college. And he decided, mijo, I'm going to go home. I'm getting old. And he went home. The first thing he did, he bought an old Ford tractor, paid a fortune to have it reconditioned because that was his thing, the Ford tractor, which I grew up with. Okay. Oh, by the way, part of it, people say to me, you don't act like a Mexican. I said, well, because I'm from Texas. My ancestors fought on both sides of the Alamo, which my grandfathers took me to the Alamo and said, mijo, over here, your family died. Inside, I said, are we crazy? Yes, we're nuts. But we've been here since 1593. And if you do the math, that's a little more before the Constitution was signed. And we weren't invited, so therefore we don't necessarily agree with it. I did a portrait of my 2 grandfathers because they were both entrepreneurials. They taught me, mijo, nobody's going to give you anything in life. You just got to go out and earn it. And so I did this painting. Now, this painting, you'll see it again. This is me at 3M when a organization, the nationwide organization, which is advancing the idea of Hispanic stars. They go around the country to different corporations and they hold meetings and they bring people who identify as Latino leaders. And they were looking for a spokesman for Minnesota. They picked me. And I said, are you guys kidding? I'm not in a corporate setting. I'm not a professional. I'm not working for anybody. I'm an independent. I'm a freelancer. I answer any call. You call, you need a painting, here I am. Jimmy can't travel. And they said, that's us. We will do what we do to do what we do. And so there's the painting. Now the painting is there, and below it there's a bag, which you can't see very well. That bag was commissioned by the Target Corporation a few years ago when they decided they were going to share all their strategic information they had on Latinos with the Fortune 100 companies. Now they called me in and said, we love that picture. Can we use it to make the bag? And I said, sure. And then they wrote me a really big check. And I thought I was going to be in the stores, but as it turned out, they were just going to make 440 for 4 people from each of the Fortune 100 companies at a special meeting in Washington, D.C., which no one was supposed to find out about. My bag. In my bag was all the stuff. And as soon as they told me that, that's what I said, can you take the check back, please? And just give me the contents? And they said, no, it's more valuable than that. So those bags. Now, it's interesting. The painting was painted on a $1.50 canvas. You got to know the cost of the materials if you're in business. I painted it in one afternoon along with 20 other paintings. So you know, not a lot invested in it. But they wrote me a $10,000 check. When they gave me the check, I called my wife and I said, I'm going to the framers, I'm going to drop a lot of money. It is now framed, suitable to be in a museum. So I spent a lot of money on the frame, more than I did on the canvas. During the Hispanic Star event, they asked me, would you consider doing some kind of little activity? I don't do anything little because I'm from Texas. We got to do it big if we're going to do it at all, okay? And what I said, okay, here's the deal. I'll work with your materials, and we'll do something that involves everybody who's our participant. They give me a piece, and then at the end of the show, I'll put it together. And they said, that's nice, Jimmy, but I don't know if you can do it because we only have 4 hours. I said, that's fine. You know, you grow up on a farm. 4 hours is a lifetime. This is perhaps one of the most significant pieces for me in Minnesota. It is the first time anybody has used their films, their vinyls, that cross the different disciplines. They're on your automobile, they're on your windows, they're on your institutional walls, and it's a new product line that it's been around for 20 years, but 3M, it's new. They want to get it out. I was invited to come and do an activity with the Latinos, and they said, you know, that would really be nice if you could do a little piece that we can put in the hallway where we all hang out. And I said, sure. That'll be fine, but remember, I'm from Texas. I ain't doing a little thing. I'm doing a big thing. So we wind up, the thing is 16 feet wide by 6 feet tall. It's done in these materials. Now, I had to have the technical assistance about the guy who does this material, teaches everybody in the world. It cost you $5,000 to get taught by Scott how to use this material. And Scott and I had a lot of fun, because he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to violate all the rules. I'm going to make these materials work with each other. He said, you haven't met our engineers and scientists. I said, it's a good thing, because they're going to tell me I can't do it, right? He said, yeah. And then I said, well, give me the specs. And he gave me a book this wide, not tall, that wide. He didn't expect me to take it home and read it. But remember, I'm the little kid that had to read encyclopedias. So I read the entire spec sheet, figured out where they were just being ridiculous. You could work it. You had to develop a technique. I developed a technique where I take my brush hand, I hold their gold-plated titanium knife at a 30-degree angle, and I cut the sheet. That gives me enough room to overlap them and do away with the void that they say would cause delamination. Bingo. I do this, and in typical Jimmy way, we did it in the middle of their cross-section of their lobby. People are coming in, and we're grabbing people and saying, you know, can you over here and help? I need you to hold this in, and then I'm going to cut here. And I do that. And there was a gentleman that came out, and he was kind of standing a little bit aloof, and it was casual day. And I said, look, I need your help. Get over here. Stand here. Hold this, please. And cut it. And then he went away. We finished the piece. The engineers came and said, do you know you can't do what you're doing? And I explained to them, and they said, oh, that might work. I said, but you have a problem. You got to re-engineer the knife, because I, as a painter, I'm used to moving my wrist this way. Most people hold their wrist steady. So you can't do that 30-degree cut. It would be nice if you go and re-engineer the blade. Wow, thank you. Give me 10%. But we finished it, and then we were waiting for it to be placed near the cafe area where all the Latino corporate employees hung out. And they were happy, and I was happy, my wife was happy, Anna was happy. And then we got this weird message. The guy in charge of marketing for all these materials had decided, no, it needs to be in the entry to the trade building, where everybody that does business with 3M would come and see it. And my wife pointed out to him that, hey, you have a curved wall, this won't fit. He says, we can remodel it. Now, one of the things I've done before is work trades, and I understand that's a worth $40,000 remodel. And then Connie says, but the lights are bad. He says, we can do that too. Holy mackerels. This guy was going to dump $50,000 on top of to accommodate this piece. I was happy. That's a remarkable thing. Except the next day, when I was finishing up the sealing off the edges, making sure everything was perfect, and getting ready to hand over to the installer comes out and has the ugly face. He goes, it's going somewhere else. I go, well, where? And then we're told that somebody higher up in 3M had decided it was going to go in the Innovation Center. So the poor Latinos were unhappy because access back then was limited. They weren't going to see it. And it was only going to be where people who visit the headquarters of 3M from other 3Ms. So the big cheeses from around the world, we're going to see what a Chicano from the United States of America can do with a product that, which, by the way, was invented in Japan. This technology is Japanese, okay? And it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And so it's sitting there. Now, word gets around as who I am. Now, I'm one of the most invisible, visible artists in Minnesota because every time there is that non-disclosure document that I have to sign. When you go to 3M, I had to sign, you will not disclose this until blah, blah. And whenever I work with things here, I'm at the Four Seasons. And I was really excited. They were going to pay me to go and work for 4 hours and where the who's who and the what of Minnesota was going to show up for the grand opening of the Four Seasons Hotel. The cheapest room is beyond my whole budget for painting for a month. So I'm like, okay, we can't spend a night here. But that's not the point. The point is that I was going to be in front of it. So I said yes, and I did that. Now, the gentleman that's in the picture is former Mayor R.T. Ryback. And he is now the head of the Minneapolis Foundation. And when he walked in, he was surprised, and then he came over and says, of course it had to be you. And I'm going like, yeah, what are you doing nowadays? And we were touching base, reminiscing at the time that I painted most of Lake Street when it was being infested by Latino drug dealing gangs. I'm the one who figured out a way. And RT, who was mayor at that, said, I don't know what to do. My police department doesn't. I said, it's real simple. We paint out the corners where they put their sign so the suburban kids from Edina can't find the drug dealers. Oh, will that work? I said, we don't know. But it did work. There was only one shooting between Latino gangs because they come up, they see me painting their wall, they go like, oh, okay, dude, what are you doing? I said, painting out this wall so you don't shoot the guy from over there. He's from Chicago. It was Chicago versus LA. Most people are not aware that drug dealing and the street crime is all about the business of selling drugs. And this, you might recognize Melissa Franson. She was your state senator for 2 terms. And she's the first Democrat that Edina ever voted. Made history. She said, Jimmy, I got new offices, new digs at the Capitol. I need something on my walls because the walls are gray. And so she came to my home, went into my studio. I had prepared flowers for her. I said, look, you can put flowers. She said, no, I want that. That painting behind her is very dense, very intense, and it's got the name of Las Tres Lloronas, and in Hispanic culture, it's the crying mom who murdered her children, which I thought was kind of funny. She said, no, it's strong enough, it'll intimidate anybody coming in to harass me. So that's what it is. Now, in the art business world, and it is a business, I mean, from the advantage I have over my peers who are artists is I'm not sentimental about what I do. I'm pragmatic. I understand that it's about creating wealth. I don't make decorations for your home, although I decorated Melissa Franz's office, and when she moved to the mixed building, we did more. When she moved up and became the leader, we redecorated her office with huge Jimmy Longoria art. And right now, if you visit the Democratic Senate floor, how many pieces, Connie?
59.
59 pieces are distributed to that floor. They don't own them, okay? Because they don't make enough money to buy them. It's too expensive, so I loan them to them. It's my charity work. But you got to get into museums, and this is an installation, permanent installation at the Mexican Fine Art Museum in Chicago. Carlos, who at the beginning did not like me because I did the Benito Juarez mural, and I got more money than he did to build his museum. It happens. But he said, you're the guy in the Midwest, and so I need you in the museum. And so we did the Cesar Chavez Pala. It's a painted shovel. The material is $7.50 in a shovel. It is about $3 in paint and another $3 in brushes that don't last, and about $100. But it's permanently installed there, and it has become the outstanding piece around the country. Whenever Latinos and Chicanos and other people visit the museum, everything else looks like a regular art piece, but here's this painted shovel, and it stands out. The gentleman next there is the, I forget his title again, Connie.
You have it on that piece.
Oh, and my piece, okay. Okay, he's connected with the Latino Museum of the Americas, or the Latino American Museum, okay, and his name is Eduardo Diaz. He's deputy director, okay? Latinos have to raise $1 billion in order to build that museum. So I'm part of that campaign. We gotta raise $1 billion, because that's the citizen component to get the building built. And he's over there, and it's funny, the commentary of the photo is like, do you think we could give this away? I said, it's not an industrial product, it's a piece of art. Okay. And locally, again, the twins, was it 2 years ago?
It's the same year as the hotel.
Oh, same year as the hotel. The Twins organization said, we could do these t-shirt giveaways, and we'd like to put your art on one of the t-shirts. I said, great. And I said, how many are you making? And they said 5,000. And I said, is it possible? Oh yeah, we always have some left over. So I went to bat. I really invested a lot of time and gave it to them. I'm not a graphic designer, I'm an artist, but I made a piece of art in 3M materials, spent a fortune photographing and sent the graphic file to them, and they printed it. And then the day we went there, we went in right away, and so we got our shirts. And we told other friends, come, come, come. They came late. Now there's a reason for never being late, particularly 5,000 of these shirts disappeared within an hour. I was stunned because they had never seen any shirt they gave away disappear so fast. It was a bummer. So I had friends who were angry at me. He's like, Jimmy, you didn't save any. I said, I'm sorry, it's not my thing. I was paid in advance. If they paid me afterwards, I'd save you a few. Now, this is, I want to get it right, Delano Roosevelt. Delano Roosevelt. He is the grandson of Franklin D. And he now works in a part of the government that works in international relationships with Dubai. He held an event and he came over and he said, Jimmy, over here, I want to introduce you to this guy. He's the cultural minister from Dubai. I said, nice, thank you. He says, we need you to organize Chicano art in Dubai. I said, well, it's a long way and my van doesn't go that far. He said, oh, we will take care of that. I said, Chicano artists don't play well together. Well, we'll trust you to pick the ones that are gonna go. I said, like, okay, so far, this sounds good. Why are we going? He says, well, because we're opening up museums. Not a museum, but museums. And they're collecting. Now, and we get to the point of me answering the question, why is it getting so expensive? Chicano is definable, okay? You're from a period, 50s, 60s, 70s. And we are dying, so our production stops. And those of you who know about how things acquire value, that means fewer and fewer pieces. And with the natural attrition that happens, that people put things away. Remember, there were 440 of those bags, and some of them wound up being tossed. And I, in Connie's closet, have the original proof bag. So as Target goes on, and as Target remains a company, that's going to be a major collectible. And as Latinos and Latinas join the Target Corporation, some VP is going to say, I got to have the bag in my office. And that's it.
Take some questions.
Yes, sir.
Who was your original inspiration as an artist, or inspirations?
My grandfathers. They said, basically, here, mijo, you have to change the culture in Texas, and when we move to California, you have to change the culture in California, and it's about cultural change. I know if you talk to political professionals and consultants, they're talking about how America is really ruled by cultures. So I made a decision, and here's the big surprise. In college, I made the decision not to continue in the pursuit of becoming the first Latino governor of California because it wasn't feasible. I kept doing a projection every single year, how will I be, and it was not in my lifetime. And we still don't have a Latino governor. And I'm hopeful that we might get a Latino governor in Texas before that. That would make me feel better and I can go home. But no, but the inspiration was realizing that all cultures, all great civilizations, and America is one of the great civilizations of this epoch, are remembered by their artistic accomplishments. I mean, you don't remember the hundreds of Caesars, but you do remember the Colosseum. You do remember that. And the same thing for Greek. The Greek cultures were many and varied and very sophisticated, but we remember the redo of the David, which was inspired by classical. So artists are very important in shifting the core of the culture of a nation. That's my inspiration.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Any other questions?
Oh, tell them what you're doing Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Saturday, I'll be painting live in front of a group like this for the fundraiser for Global Minnesota. And we're going to be auctioning off a painting, which I will complete in 4 hours. And it's about this big and this big. And we're hoping to raise $5,000 with that piece. If not, I'm taking it home. But that's it. And then after that, they're also bidding on a dinner at my home, because I like to cook, and a tour of my studio. So, and part of that is we did host these Rotary Exchange kids, and we're inspired. Some of them we still call our kids. And we occasionally get a phone call from Japan, from one of our daughters, who says, can we talk? Which means we're going to spend 3 hours discussing some life-changing decision in her life. And she's the president of her own international company. So that's the beauty of that. We're inspired by that. Our government supports a lot of the global exchange. Please support our government, because the future, just as we're going to have a lot of Latinos running businesses and most of this country in the next 20 years, if you look beyond the wall, beyond the river, down to the south, the largest market that is accessible to us is over there. It's in Latin America. And so we want to have good relations. So I lobby my senators, which I march in parades with them, and say, look, you got to get connected with Latin America, because we can sell General Mills products in Costa Rica. Okay, just that. Yes, sir.
If I understood you right, Chicano art is part of American art, and it lasted only a few, decades. What is the future of Chicano art?
Oh, that's good. It has several decades where it starts out. It goes back to right after the war, when Beatrice Longoria was pissed off that they weren't going to bury her husband in the cemetery in Tres Rivers, Texas. And she got together with the GI Forum, and then they began a movement that went nationwide about asserting to us. And that's when they came up with the question of how do we unite Latin Americans and Mexican Americans and Filipinos all went together under one, and that's where they came up with the Chicano. Then it progressed. It was denied all the way until the 90s, when we started having people who get PhDs in Chicano studies. They have since gone into decline because they're retiring, and now it's all about Latin American, because it's a convenient form and it's bigger, and it has a basis to understand for economy. But I'm part of that core that came midway. I came in the 70s. As a Chicano, I'm the authentic deal. In other words, I started making Chicano art. I'm still alive. I'm 68 years old. So every time somebody gives me a check for a piece, they're like, so when are you dying, dude? That is what's making Chicano a confinable thing. Then Cheech Marin opened the Cheech Museum in Riverside, California. And when he did that, Sotheby's took notice, and Sotheby's then got contractors to start calling and identifying what is Chicano and who is Chicano. So I got the phone call from New York galleries that never would have spoken to me when I visited New York, saying, like, Mr. Longoria, we'd like to talk to you about representing you. I said, excuse me, come back in 10 years, because I can sell my art directly to you for half the price of a gallery. But here's the thing. I recently got a phone call from an insurance company who said, did you sell this piece to this person and for $500? I said, yes, I did. That was 10 years ago. What's it worth now? I said $4,000. And that's what's happening. And it's going to be, but it's kind of tricky because we have a lot of kids, young kids that went through school, came out, they want to jump on the bandwagon and say, I'm a Chicanx. And I said, that's great, but you're defining yourself in a different category. And the difference is, and I love the doctor thing, my doctor gave me new crystal lenses for when she did my cataract surgery. Then she turned around, she bought one of my biggest paintings. And I said, thank you, I'll give you a big discount. She said, no need, it's gonna be really good. She has 2 children. And the people say to me when they buy my art, is my grandchildren are going to college on your art piece. So that's what it is. And it's getting tricky because there are right now debates. Cheech is actually putting people in positions to study it. Minnesota's in the game. The new executive director of the MIA has hired 2 Latinas. One is doing Latin American art, the other one's doing contemporary Latino art. But the, what is it? Oh God, the University of Minnesota is the Wiseman. The Wiseman has a Mexican curator. And that's all gonna change here. And again, there's a piece at 3M that somebody has to get into a museum. Okay, so that's what's going on. And my poor friends who used to, people who know me, you're like, Jimmy, can I still get that piece? You know, the one for $50? I said, sure, you can still get the piece, but it's got 2 zeros on it. Yeah. And that's what's going on. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, thanks for your presentation, and Connie for being here. Nice to meet you. Rotary is a global network of 1.3 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who see the world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe. In our communities and in ourselves, from literacy and peace to water and health. Sorry, I need a pair of glasses too.
Yes, you want to borrow mine?
Rotarians are always working to better our world, and we stay committed to the end. In honor of your presentation today, we're going to make a donation to Northside Boxing Club. It's a local nonprofit offering positive connections with youth every evening at a gym, providing boxing classes, tutoring help, and a nutritious meal from a local restaurant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. That was great. Opportunity Alley, we have Veep packing on June 17th, June 3rd. We have JCS Landscaping, and keep on bringing in your Coke Reward bottle caps and case scans. Upcoming social events, we got pickleball on the 10th. We got four fireside chats. One on the 11th at Julie's house, 18th at Paul Moody's. On the 24th, Kelly Burnett's. On the 1st, and let's see, when was the last? And then there's one more that was added that Gitu was kind enough. What was the date on that? 13th? 30th, May 30th. Is that a Tuesday? No, is that a Tuesday? It's a Tuesday, May 30th. Then we have Paul Peterson's going to sing at the Saints game. We have our annual picnic on June 1st at Bush Lake Park. And Music Under the Stars on the 29th. For anybody who'd like to join us, it's $75 per ticket. I think we have about 15 tickets left. We have upcoming events. Next week is the Women in Leadership Award. It's a Chris Ann Manolis Award. Also, if you think of bringing any, I'd like to put it out there, that'd be Women in Perspective Women Rotary Today for members. And then we just ripped through all of those already. And then Sam and Evo's party on the 6th. And then we have the shredding event on June 10th. So this month is stroke awareness. So things to keep in mind when you're seeing people is FAST, and the acronym is look for face drooping, look for their arm weakness, speech, and time. So the quicker you can get that person to medical attention, the faster or the less damaging it'll be. So keep that in mind. So Dr. Yancey, he's gone. Well, thank you, Dick. Wonderful job on putting that together. Folks at Hope Academy, thank you again for all the great work you're doing out there. Jamal, fantastic classification. And Mary Kay, welcome to the club. Thank you all. May the 4th be with you, with a smile on your face, love in your hearts. You international people of action, continue to do good work in our community and the world. Meeting adjourned.